Former President Donald Trump has been indicted for a second time. Donald Trump says he's been indicted on charges of mishandling classified documents at his Florida estate. The federal prosecution is arguably the most perilous of multiple legal threats against the former president. There are still more criminal investigations looming, trials are coming, and Trump continues to be the frontrunner for the Republican nomination. Trump's legal woes are getting worse and worse, but so does the overall political landscape in America. This is how Donald Trump describes his second indictment.
Today we witness the most evil and heinous abuse of power in the history of our country. Very sad thing to watch. A corrupt sitting president had his top political opponent arrested on fake and fabricated charges of which he and numerous other presidents would be guilty, right in the middle of a presidential election in which he is losing very badly. This is called election interference and yet another attempt to rig and steal a presidential election. More importantly, it's a political persecution like something straight out of a fascist or a communist nation. This day will go down in infamy, and Joe Biden will forever be remembered as not only the most corrupt president in the history of our country, but perhaps even more importantly, the president who, together with a band of his closest thugs, misfits, and Marxists, tried to destroy American democracy.
In a recent interview with Fox News, who uncharacteristically came down hard on Trump, the former president claims that he was too busy to sort out personal documents from top secret ones.
The only way NARA could ever get this stuff, this back, would be please, 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 could we have it back?
And they
please,
asked for that.
Because they have no, we
They
were
did
talking.
ask for it.
No, and
they said,
I gave
can you
them
give the
some,
documents back?
and we were talking.
And then they said they went to DOJ to subpoena you to get them
Which
back.
they've never done before.
Right.
And in
but
all
why not
fairness,
just hand them over then?
Because I had boxes. I want to go through the boxes and get all my personal things out. I don't want to hand that over to NARA yet. And I was very busy, as you've sort of seen.
Yeah, but
I've been
according to
very,
the
very
indictment,
busy.
you then tell this aide to move to other locations after telling your lawyers to say you'd fully complied with the subpoena when you hadn't.
But before I send boxes over, I have to take all of my things out. These boxes were interspersed with all sorts of things.
Trump said the indictment against him is nothing more than a distraction from bribery allegations leveled against President Biden. He has previously said that his legal challenges were aimed at stopping him from running for president. So Biden is accused of bribery and Trump has numerous legal woes. Who stands a moral better position?
As far as the indictments and the unjust persecution of President Trump, as he would call it, as I would as well, I believe it is 110% that it is a distraction from the bribery claims that is being leveled against Biden right now, as well as his family. If you look at the track record going all the way back to 2016, they've been after President Trump pretty adamantly since 2016, which is understandable seeing how he's not from Washington, D.C. He wasn't a politician before then. He was obviously an outsider. And they had no reins on President Trump. President Trump is his own man. He didn't need any money from them. He controlled his own purse strings. So he created a lot of enemies within Washington, D.C. Now, in terms of the bribery claims, yes, I do believe it's a distraction because if you look back at history, going back to 2016, the Russiagate hoax, that failed. They tried to take him out of the presidential election with that. They spied on his campaign as well. There was the state indictment in New York. That didn't work. So now they're going with a federal indictment. And if you look at the law pretty closely, it doesn't hold any weight. They're just doing this to try to bog him down.
But the story of one president trying to pull down another former president is surely unprecedented in the United States history. The American public has expressed lots of sympathy for Trump, not because they believe he's innocent, but because they do know that all politicians have their own skeleton in the closet. After all, it was President Biden who hid documents in his garage.
America has spent a long time calling other governments banana republics for essentially doing what we're doing now, which is Biden is attempting to jail his political opponent. And the mainstream media is trying to paint it out to be one way with Trump, that he is, definitely guilty of these crimes. And yet the public has reacted quite differently. In fact, most of the public has actually engendered more sympathy for Trump because they feel he is being persecuted by the government in a two-tiered justice system, where you look at what the Bidens are doing and what they are getting away with, or the Clintons or the Obamas, versus what they are persecuting Trump for. It seems to be an uneven application of the law. And that's where Trump has really actually gained a lot of sympathy. I posted a clip earlier of two DC liberals. One of them is from CNN, commenting on this backlash and how that has actually helped Trump. And it is giving him momentum going into the general election.
Let's see some of the public reactions towards Trump's legal woes.
I am feeling somewhat relieved. I think that I'm hoping that this is the beginning of something that will really bring down a very, very bad person.
While I support Donald Trump and I support his run for presidency, I also want people to understand that this is an American issue. It rises above whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, whether you think Joe Biden is competent or you don't. Of course, you know I don't think he's competent.
It's not a witch hunt. You do something wrong, you should be just like everybody else and have to deal with it. I have a feeling he's going to probably get a really light sentence, but that's just the way it goes.
Just think it's stupid, it's going to not get anywhere, and it will come back to be bad on the Democrats.
I think that people should focus on better topics and better issues that we have in the social climate, like people struggling on the streets, affordable housing, education, things that really matter to Americans.
Well, I kind of expected it because I saw in the news it was probably going to happen. I think it actually gives him an advantage going into the 2024 election.
Trump says he would totally obliterate the deep state if get elected. What exactly is this deep state and what is its agenda?
The deep state is essentially a conglomerate of multiple organizations within the federal government that act in the way of subverting the American people. The deep state has multiple names, such as the Swamp, such as the Uniparty. These people are all the same. These people are in elected positions. They are in administrative positions, appointed positions, and they specifically do the exact opposite of what the American people and the American public want. In order to enrich themselves, whether it be by military industrial complex, through defense contracts, whether it's through aid that they're funneling back to themselves, whether it's through taxes that they're taking from the American people, the Uniparty operates in a way that serves themselves and subverts the will of the American people. And that's what President Trump wants to get rid of. He wants America first. He wants, the country. He wants these systems, executive, judicial, and legislative branch, to work for the American people. And as it stands right now, they're doing the exact opposite. And I believe that's what President Trump means by he's going to eradicate the deep state, which would be outstanding for America.
A poll shows that most Americans believe that a deep state definitely or probably exists. Let's put aside the question of whether it does exist or not. Where does this public perception come from?
The deep state was to be rumored to be involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy in the 1963. And for a while, the deep state had been telling you, oh, it's crazy to say that we were involved, the FBI and the CIA, in the assassination of JFK. And they told you for over 60 years that it was this lone wolf, Lee Harvey Oswald, who shot JFK. Well, just this year, the CIA released documents admitting that, yes, the CIA and the FBI were involved intimately in orchestrating the plot to assassinate a president of the United States. So when you consider the fact that the CIA and FBI just admitted their involvement in killing one of our own presidents, I believe that's where the public perception comes from, that the deep state controls America. Because in the end, if the FBI and the CIA can literally assassinate one of our presidents, then it is kind of hard to say that the president is the most powerful person on earth, rather than these deep state actors who obviously control the presidents.
Trump is clearly the GOP frontrunner, and he would, at this moment, stand a better chance to defeat Biden. But many of the former president's close allies have also come down hard on him and have called for him not to run for president. They believe his legal woes are real and he's a toast.
I do think that even half what Andy McCarthy said, which is if even half of it is true, then he's toast. I mean, it's a very detailed indictment, and it's very, very damning. And this idea of presenting Trump as a victim here, a victim of a witch hunt, is ridiculous. Yes, he's been a victim in the past. Yes, his adversaries have obsessively pursued him with phony claims, and I've been at his side defending against them when he is a victim. But this is much different. He's not a victim here. He was totally wrong that he had the right to have those documents. Those documents are among the most sensitive secrets that the country has. They have to be in the custody of the archivist. He had no right to maintain them and retain them. And he kept them in a way at Mar-a-Lago that anyone who really cares about national security, their stomach would churn at it.
So many people in the Republican camp are trying to stop Trump from running for president, and of course many in the Biden camp are working just to get him knocked down. Of course, Trump has promised to punish all those who are coming after him, especially the Biden administration.
It's because they're on the chopping block and they know it. And there's such a clear record of what they've been doing that they know when he gets in that he's going to inform. It would be unwise for him to let it all go. Some people may think that taking the high road is the best answer, but we know that in this world and in reality, when something happens, there needs to be consequences so it doesn't happen again. And that's what Democrats realize is going to happen. They know that once he's elected, he's going to appoint a special prosecutor, and he's going to come out guns a-blazing. So, yeah, they are motivated. They do have a reason to be attacking him as adamantly as they are, knowing that as soon as he's sworn in, they're the ones who's going to have the target on their backs next, and rightfully so. They should be, every last one of them, thrown in jail in the Biden administration. But that's why that's the reason why they specifically in the Biden administration don't want President Trump to be elected.
According to a survey, more than 2/5 of Americans believe civil war is at least somewhat likely in the next 10 years, a figure that increases to more than half among self-identified strong Republicans.
I don't think we're on the path to a civil war. I do agree that if you look at the media depiction, it does make you feel like we are on that path. But in reality, we're not as divided as we seem. It's just that the media is so effective at one, depicting that, and then two, actually doing a good job of dividing people further. So in the end, once we can overcome all of this censorship and the media literally being the divider, then I think actually there is a very bright light at the end of the tunnel. It's just the media is what is making this situation dark. They're very effective at what they're doing. And that's why it is a great thing that what you are doing, Ali Reza, letting me on to explain this, because even in America, we do have some major censorship issues, and we do have a major issue of getting the truth out. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's a rare opportunity, sadly, in America.
Most experts believe a full-scale armed conflict like the American Civil War between 1861 and 1865 remains unlikely. Many fear an increase of jagged political division and explicitly political violence.
As far as the Civil War goes, we know that history repeats itself. Whether that's in 10 years, 15 years, or 30 years, I believe that something in the effect of the Civil War will happen, given the way that our country is going. It is polarized, unfortunately, but when you have the administrative state against the people, something like that is bound to happen. It's unfortunate. I pray that we can stave it off as long as we can. But as far as light at the tunnel, I think that with everything going on, if President Trump isn't elected and we get 4 more years of this administration, something will happen. It may not be as big as the Civil War, but I do think there's going to be a lot of shaking up in this country if we get another 4 years of this disastrous and abysmal administration.
Interestingly, majority of Americans don't want Biden or Trump to run again in 2024. Some people say the fact that Republicans' frontrunner is Trump and Democrats are sticking to Biden, both of whom have lots of problems, show the decline of U.S. power.
I disagree with that premise because while the frontrunner of Democrats, which is Joe Biden, has completely destroyed America as we know it, we know it is not the same as it once was. It was a great country with great economy, and our social issues were not as bad. That's one thing. The other one being President Trump as a GOP frontrunner is doing what we, the American people, want him to do. The majority of the American people want the country back on its feet, back thriving, prosperous. Our economy, we want that back. And we want these ridiculous social issues to go away. And there's only one route towards that, and that's President Trump. So no, I don't think that he chose the decline of America by running. I think that he's actually trying to do the exact opposite. The only one who's choosing to decline would be, the party putting up the person who's actually destroyed this country the last 4 years. Now, they could have put, Kennedy, RFK Jr., who's running for the Democrat presidential election. They could have had him up there, and I think that would have been a much better choice. Somebody sensible. That would not have been a choice of decline in America. But because they chose Biden, I think that they made a willful decision in where they want this country to go. In their heads, it may be somewhere else. Obviously, not a great place. But for the rest of America, President Trump is the one who is trying to lift up this country and bring it back to where it once was, which was a.
Trump says the escalating Russia-Ukraine crisis never would have happened on his watch. He has also vowed to end the conflict in 24 hours. But would a Trump presidency change the course of the war? Would we see a dramatic shift?
The dramatic shift would be an end to the war. A lot of people actually believe President Trump when he says that he would have that war ended within 24 hours. I think that may be a stretch. I think it would probably take, at the most a week, because there's a lot of negotiations and talking that have to go on. But I believe that, very shortly after he's elected, that war, there will be a drawdown. There will be a drastic drawdown, because not only it won't be just the fact that he has to go and negotiate. Other countries are watching this election. I mean, they're watching this war, and they know that President Trump had absolutely zero wars during his administration, first president in decades for that to happen. Zero wars, zero conflicts, and was a peacemaker. Peace in the Middle East, peace, in North and South Korea, passing demilitarization zones. So I think that we know that we have a candidate who is skilled in the art of foreign diplomacy and getting these wars to draw down.
Trump was impeached in 2019 partly because he had pushed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate Joe Biden, then one of his top political rivals, while freezing about $400 million in vital military aid to the former Soviet Republic. Experts say Trump's amicable disposition toward Putin and disdain for international and democratic norms emboldened the Russian president.
You look at modern American presidents, and every modern American president but Trump has seen a situation where we ceded land to Putin. So Trump is the only person, George Bush ceded Georgia, and Obama ceded more land, and Biden with what he's doing plus Afghanistan. Afghanistan really did contribute to the Ukraine war of how we withdrew. We left all those weapons, and we showed how weak we were. And so all of those things contributed to where we're at now, with Putin feeling a sense of strength and, and feeling, this isn't going to be that hard. And in the end, he already achieved his goals. Putin achieved what he already needed. He wanted a warm seaport, and he already got it. Trump obviously never had Putin advance on land for a reason. And Trump would end the war in a dramatic fashion, because he would actually be able to negotiate with Russia and also end the other piece of this, which is China. China is the other side of this that people don't talk about. As Russia acted, China acted in accordance and started attacking India. And so in the end, Trump is going to stop the massive Asian land war that is occurring. And again, Afghanistan was key in this. Once Biden left Afghanistan and abandoned Afghanistan, Putin understood, America is weak, and this is the time to do this.
America is divided economically, politically, and culturally. Income inequality is at virtually unprecedented levels. Political polarization has risen to new highs, and we are sorting ourselves into distinctive cultural tribes that increasingly live in different communities. For many, this is just some indications of a power in decline.
I would agree in the sense that you're clearly seeing that the people's power and who they want to see run for president is clearly being ignored. And as the American people continue to be ignored in what they desire and what they want in the political process, you will continue to see these issues with a decline in power, with a decline in perception of power, feeling that we're not even allowed to select the two. There's only two. We only have a two-party system. We don't have multiple choices. It's either A or B, binary, and you can't even choose one of the two. That's what's deflating Americans. That's what's making people feel like they do not have a choice in this manner.
The election of Donald Trump didn't cause these divisions, but his presidency is exacerbating them. The Biden presidency also didn't solve these menaces. The United States today is home to two huge but essentially invisible populations. Each of them is widely stigmatized and largely composed of people living in the shadows. The government does not know who they are, where they are, or how well they're doing. The first of these invisible tribes are immigrants. Most well-informed viewers know that the number of Americans behind bars has soared since the early 1980s, and that the United States has a higher share of its populace in jail or prison than virtually any other country. And they also know that these problems will not get answered no matter who is in the office.